The people of Palestine, quote, are part of the Arab nation. Well, let's look at the Arab nation. It has 21 states, an area roughly the size of the United States, and 1/6 of the entire world's wealth. Now, add to that the fact that there already exists a Palestinian state, and that is Jordan, 60% of whose population is Palestinian. I think it's quite interesting that Yasser Arafat and King Hussein, who are bitter enemies, agree on one thing, that Jordan is a Palestinian state. So what we're talking about is a demand for a 22nd Arab state and a second Palestinian state.
Have you ever had a premonition? Have you ever had a taste of prophecy? Well, let's bring you a blast from the past. Let's bring you our Prime Minister, Bibi Netanyahu, when he was just a young man. And let's listen to his brilliant prophecy or premonition of the way he saw the way the Middle East is today. This is absolutely fascinating. Let's watch young Bibi Netanyahu together, and then we'll discuss it afterwards. Kindly subscribe to our channel so a little bit of light will push away a lot of darkness.
Mr. Benjamin Natai.
Mr. Natai, welcome to the Advocate.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Mr. Natai is a graduate of MIT. He is an Israeli, and he is a man who has written widely on this question before the House tonight. Mr. Natai, is the issue of self-determination the core of the conflict in the Middle East?
No, I don't believe it is. The real core of the conflict is the unfortunate Arab refusal to accept the state of Israel. And I think, as was mentioned earlier, for 20 years the Arabs had both the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. And if self-determination were, as they now say, the core of the conflict, they could have easily established a Palestinian state then, but they didn't.
When did the issue arise then?
Well, for 20 years, we didn't hear a word about self-determination. And in fact, what we did hear, those of us living in the Middle East, was about driving the Jews into the sea. Now, after 1967, under the leadership of the PLO, the hardline strategy shifted to adopting a moderate, dressed-up slogan, which now talked in terms of first a secular democratic state and then replaced it with Palestinian self-determination. But what this really means, contrary to what Mr. Aruri said, about 1977 being a changed year in the PLO's objectives, let me quote you what the PLO Information Office said in a Dutch paper in 1977, in May 5th.
77?
May 5th, 1977, yes. The statement was very simple. Our objective remains the destruction of the Zionist state of Israel. So let's keep in mind that what we're talking about here is not the attempt to build a state, but to destroy one.
Do the Palestinians have a right to a separate state?
Well,
Mr. Ajami has been talking about human rights.
well, I think that no, I don't think they do, but I think that it's quite instructive that the Palestinians who are invoking the right of self-determination, which is an attribute for separate nations, themselves are the ones who define themselves as part of the Arab nation. Now, no one is denying that there are Palestinian Arabs. There's a very distinguished Palestinian Arab sitting right next to me. But the Palestinians themselves, in the Palestinian National Covenant, the very first article, say that the people of Palestine, quote, are part of the Arab nation. Well, let's look at the Arab nation. It has 21 states, an area roughly the size of the United States, and 1/6 of the entire world's wealth. Now, add to that the fact that there already exists a Palestinian state, and that is Jordan, 60% of whose population is Palestinian. I think it's quite interesting that Yasser Arafat and King Hussein, who are bitter enemies, agree on one thing, that Jordan is a Palestinian state. So what we're talking about is a demand for a 22nd Arab state and a second Palestinian state.
What should be done with the Palestinians on the West Bank? There's a problem, so what should be done about it, in your opinion?
Well, I think that the Palestinians in the West Bank are going to be offered the full human rights, the full civil rights, as no Arabs are offered in the Middle East. No Arabs whatsoever have any full human rights or the right to vote for their own government. Those Arabs who lived in Israel in the pre-67 boundaries are the only Arabs in the Middle East who are offered that right, and I'm all in favor of having the same Arabs living in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip being offered such a right in the final peace agreement.
Can we have peace in the Middle East?
Very briefly, please.
Yes, I sincerely hope so. Look, I'm 28 years old. I've had to defend my country in 2 wars and in many battles. Nobody wants peace more than Israel. But the stumbling block to the road for peace is this demand for a PLO state, which will mean more war, which will mean more violence in the Middle East. And I sincerely believe, if this demand is abandoned, we can have real and genuine peace.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Craven. Now we'll go to Mr. Adjami. Mr. Adjami, some questions for Mr. Netanyahu.
Mr. Netanyahu, you've told everyone that the Palestinians on the West Bank and the Gaza Strip will enjoy full human rights. Could you tell me how that's compatible with the presence of Israeli forces in their midst?
Well, the Arabs living now under the Arabs who lived in Israel, 400,000 of them, 400,000, between 1948 and 67, as I said earlier, certainly enjoy full human rights. And as I said, they're the only
I'm not talking about the Arabs in Israel. I'm talking about the Arabs on the West Bank and the Gaza Strip.
If you let me, I'll answer your question, Mr. Ajami, please. The Arabs living in Israel are the only ones who are entitled to vote for their governments, the only ones who have representative in a parliament in the entire Middle East. Now, it's true that the West Bank and the Gaza Strip are now undergoing a period of transition. In fact, no Arab government has been willing to negotiate so far about this period of transition. And I think that when this transition, when the negotiation period is ended, there is no reason why under either Jordanian citizenship or Israeli citizenship, these Arabs will not have the full human rights, the right to vote for their representatives, as the Arabs in Israel do, as hopefully all the Arabs in the Middle East will do someday.
Mr. Netanyahu, does the state of Israel itself accept that the people on the West Bank and the Gaza Strip have the right to vote on whatever future they choose?
Well, Mr. Ajami, I just outlined that in the event that this negotiation process will continue, I'm sure that what we're talking about is in fact eventual citizenship of some kind, either Jordanian or Israeli or in any other arrangement in which these people will certainly vote.
Mr. Netanyahu, you've given yourself the right to determine that you are an Israeli, but you've also given yourself the right to negate the other entity, which I think is not somehow consistent with global practice at this time, is it?
Mr. Ajami, I have never rejected another entity, nor have I ever declared my intent to destroy it, least of all the Palestinian Arabs, who I fervently want to live in peace with. All I'm saying is that it is the Palestinian Arabs themselves, their leaders, Arafat, Muhsin, who Morris Abrams quoted earlier, Farouk Kaddoumi, the number 2 man in the PLO, these are the ones who say they are part of the Arab nation. These are the ones who say they already have a Palestinian state. There is no right to establish a second one on my doorstep, which will threaten my existence. There is no right whatsoever.
Okay, Mr. Netanyahu, you seem like a very patriotic Israeli. Does not the fact of Israeli dependence upon the U.S. in order to maintain its occupation on the West Bank and the Gaza, does this not trouble you at all?
Mr. Ajami, you asked me as a patriotic Israeli, and I'll answer as someone who has fought in the Middle East. One of the things that I think is unique about Israel, in terms of all America's allies, is that it is perhaps the only one who has taken care of itself so far. And I would think that America, in fact, it's not a one-way street, Israel taking from the United States. Israel is giving the United States an extraordinary bargain in the Middle East. It's the one stable democratic ally which the United States can count on.
Mr. Netanyahu, inasmuch as you're a Zionist and are committed to a Jewish state, given the fact that demographic predictions tell us that there will be an Arab majority within the current borders of Israel, does this not challenge the foundations of the very state which you are committed to?
I know of the latest population figures, that actually show a decrease in the Arab birth rate, particularly in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, as a result of the higher education and the universal education for women that didn't exist prior to Israel, prior to 1967. Now, if you ask me, would I reject Palestinians or Arabs living in our midst? Ridiculous. Of course not. They're citizens of Israel. If they...
No, I'm talking about the West Bank and Gaza. You see, we're still going back to the core of it.
Yes, I agree. Whatever will be the final arrangement, these people should be free to multiply as they wish. I think that it is written in the Bible, multiply and be fruitful. I think these people should have that right. I'm not going to start enforcing a birth control program under any circumstance.
Thank you. With that biblical injunction, I came to Mr. Abram, one more question to Mr. Netanyahu.
Mr. Natai, since the subject is what should the United States do, may I ask you if you could summarize why, in your opinion, the United States should oppose the creation of a PLO state?
I think the United States should oppose the creation of a Palestinian state for several reasons. The first one being that it is unjust to demand the creation of a 22nd Arab state and a second Palestinian state at the expense of the only Jewish state. I think it also would defeat the hopes of those moderate Palestinians who genuinely want to reach a peace accommodation with Israel.
Thank you. Mr. Ajami, another question.
Mr. Natai, as someone who would say that you believe in democracy, do you believe that Israel can continue as a garrison state and still remain a democratic state?
Mr. Ajami, either you didn't hear what I said before, or for your benefit, I'll repeat it again. No, Israel does not intend to remain a garrison state. Israel wants to live in peace and wants to be secure. If that involves maintaining military guarantees, our own military guarantees against the destruction of people who surround us, yes, I believe we should fight for our survival. If I have to, I'll fight again, but I hope not to.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ajami. Mr. Natai, thank you for joining us on The Advocates.
And the question is this prophetic? Is this a premonition? But this is a reality that Bibi Netanyahu saw 48 years ago. 48 years ago, 1977, I believe, is when this interview occurred. And wow, what a journey, 48 years. Where he has gone from answering these questions, these hard questions, and the reality is in the Middle East, should there be a second Palestinian state? See, the world has forgotten that those who call themselves Palestinians in Gaza are really Jordanians. Many were brave enough to call it out. The Palestinians is a fabricated title to a group of Jordanians. They are all Jordanians. They have a statehood. They have a country, and that is Jordan. That's where they came from. That's their country. This whole Palestinian name is a fabrication. You don't find that anywhere in history. The Romans, I believe, is the one who invoked and used a biblical name, Pelishtim, just to irk the Israelis, the Jewish people. But there is no nationality of Palestinians. It doesn't exist. It's a fabrication. They're Jordanians, and they have the state, they have their country, which they are welcome to be part of. But Bibi Netanyahu's point is, if they have a state already, why do you need to create another state? If they were coming in peace, if they were seeking partnership, then having statehood and coming in peace is attainable. 5 times Israel has given the opportunity for this group of Palestinians, of Jordanians, to have statehood, a second state out of Jordan. But they turned down every opportunity. And the reason is because they are not interested in a 2-state solution. They are rather interested in a 1-state. They just want to occupy and take over Israel and kick out the 7 million Jews that are there. Mr. Netanyahu also emphasized that the Arabs, Palestinians who are living now in Israel want to live there because that's the only democracy. They're living as free people. They have all the civil rights as all other Israelis do, compared to nowhere like that in the Middle East. Mr. Young, Bibi Netanyahu also emphasized America's interest in Israel is not just about what they are doing to help Israel, but it's what Israel helps America. To be the only democracy in the Middle East, for America to have a home base, an ally who is so connected, so devoted, and so loyal that America can trust and rely on Israel in the Middle East is enormous. If we look at the history of the Middle East, the jihadists, beginning in the 1920s, they had what's called a caliphate. Caliphate means that they want to have world domination. They want to take over the world with Islam. Their plan was to control the whole Middle East and from there move on to the rest of Europe, Asia, and then America. That was their caliphate. That was their plan. Israel, being in the Middle East, has stopped that from happening. And that is where the hate is at. And that is why they want to annihilate us. God Almighty, when He created the world, and He decided to give Israel to the Jewish people, God did it so that Israel can be the buffer for the rest of the world to prevent this caliphate from happening. So it is quite insightful to listen to a young Bibi Netanyahu. Even his name was shortened at the time as to Mr. Natai instead of Netanyahu. I guess for marketing purposes, that was his screen name. But Mr. Bibi Netanyahu, who from this became the ambassador to the United Nations, I remember I believe it was 1982, when he was appointed ambassador to the United Nations. He came to visit the synagogue that I grew up in. And that is the Chabad headquarters on 770 Eastern Parkway in Brooklyn, New York. This was 1982. I was about 21 years old. It was the last day of the high holiday season that year. And that's actually the anniversary of when October 7 happened, on the most joyous day of the year called Simchat Torah. At the time, there were probably 5,000 to 10,000 of us just crammed in this the synagogue. It wasn't a very huge synagogue, but we just crammed in. Our rabbi is the Grand Chabad Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, who led the Chabad movement from 1950 until 1994 at his passing. So this was in 1982 or 83. Mr. Netanyahu, who's just recently appointed to the United Nations as the Israeli ambassador, arrives at 770. And he is introduced to the Rebbe. Now, just to understand, thousands of guests from all over the world literally come to be with the rabbi, with the Rebbe, for this special event. It's a happy dancing event. We sing songs, and the rabbi, the Rebbe, who's traditionally in his studying or teaching, here he's dancing. So it's a once-a-year glimpse on seeing our grand rabbi, the world Jewish leader, in a joyous mode, happy and celebrating the end of the high holiday season with dancing. It was a sight to be seen. So Mr. Netanyahu approaches the Rebbe's podium, and the Rebbe begins talking to him. That conversation lasted 40 long minutes. 40 long minutes. You can imagine what it was for us in the audience. We're 5,000 to 10,000 of us crammed in this tiny room, the air conditioning barely working, and we're waiting to dance, and yet the Rebbe spends 40 long minutes. And this is why we remember it. It was excruciating for us just to be in silence and allowing the Rebbe to converse with him. Well, the Rebbe, being the world Jewish leader, is a great saint, angelic, gifted with prophecy and a keen insight into the future. He knew who Bibi Netanyahu is going to be. He was able to have that foresight to prophesize that he will be the Prime Minister of Israel and the challenges he will be dealing with. He told him a line that Mr. Netanyahu remembers till today. He repeats it many, many times. The Rebbe told him, "You are an ambassador to the United Nations. It's a house of darkness, but you're going to be a flame. You're going to be a light in the house of darkness. If a little bit of light pushes away a lot of darkness, how much more so a lot of light?" And the Rebbe gave him the courage to face the United Nations, the world, who are there with lies, 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 a dark house, and yet he's going to bring light. I remember Mr. Netanyahu repeating those words. Those words got seared into my mind. That after I survived a mass shooting, an assassination attempt at my synagogue in 2019, on April 27, where in the last day of Passover, a 19-year-old terrorist breached a synagogue, shot and killed Lori Kay, and then lifted his AR-15 to shoot and assassinate me. It was the second synagogue in all U.S. history to have been attacked in a mass shooting. He successfully shot 4 rounds at me. These 2 fingers were affected, but the rest of me survived. But after the shooting, I was in total shock and devastation. But I'll never forget these words. A little bit of light pushes away a lot of darkness. There was darkness in the lobby of our synagogue that day, and I need to be that light. I remember those words. As a matter of fact, the name of the channel that you are watching right now is called A Little Bit of Light. That's where it comes from. And this is what we have learned from Mr. Netanyahu. His journey in the last 48 years since he gave that talk continues, and the reality on the ground still continues. And I ask you, who is listening right now, be with the right side of history. Understand what Israel is up against. Understand the challenges Israel is facing with. Understand that Israel's only intentions is to be a light unto the world, is to contribute to the world and be an innovator. All the inventions, all the medical breakthroughs, and all breakthroughs in all areas of humanity that Israel has accomplished, it's for you. It's for humanity. This is who the Jewish people are. And this is why God gave us this land of Israel, so we could be a light unto the nations. So yes, there's a lot of darkness in the Middle East, but Israel is the light and will continue on being the light. So I hope you are inspired by young Bibi Netanyahu. It kind of gives us encouragement for each one of us to realize what we can become in life. When we start out young, we can have a future. And the future can lead us to the greatest heights. And Mr. Netanyahu has, against all odds, against so much opposition internally and globally, has stood tall, steadfast during this horrific war. It was on his time that the massacre occurred. Yes, he needs to answer for that, which who knows if we'll ever have the right answers. How was that able to happen? But nonetheless, against all odds, against all oppositions, he stood strong just as he stood 48 years ago at that podium. And we need to be behind him until this war is over. He brought the hostages home. He's ending this war. Let him end it in completion. God bless you. God loves you.